Welcome to the Half in the Bag Disc Golf Podcast, streaming to you as part of the Joe's Disc Golf Podcast Network. And here are your hosts, Ben, Joe, and RJ.
Welcome back, everyone, to Half in the Bag Disc Golf, a podcast where three of us friends get together, grab a few drinks, and ramble on about disc golf here a little bit. My name is Ben. I'm up in Green Bay, Wisconsin today. I don't have my copper cup, but I'm drinking a Moscow Mule today.
And my name is RJ. I am in Auburn, Indiana, and I am drinking a Noel Noir from a local winery here, Too's Winery.
Ooh.
It's a nice red wine.
I'm also...
Ben, I let you take it because, as I learned today, I do not do well when I'm first on the box.
Gotcha.
The tournament results for you look pretty good, though.
I didn't see them.
Not a bad opening tournament.
How'd you do?
I ended up fifth in my division.
All right.
And
out of four,
I shot my
or
first ever. I didn't win my card, but first ever top 5 finish.
Nice.
Highest ever rated round. First ever round rated, or not rated.
First rated round, so it is your best, worst, and average.
Yes. And my first tournament round, not over par.
Nice.
I was going to say, I saw the even par finish on a course that isn't terribly long, but if you get in trouble, you can get in a lot of trouble there.
Yes.
Well,
Mosier is brutal. Like, it can be brutal.
It a little bit.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it a little bit later, but let's finish the intro.
Yeah.
Joe, what are you drinking?
I also have a red. It's very sweet. I'd almost call it Welch's grape juice because I make fun of my sister-in-law for drinking really sweet things, but, you know. It might also be Welch's.
I think I do actually have a bottle that tastes like Welch's, slightly higher alcohol content.
Let me tell you that the stuff that she loves to drink, it is like sugar water is not even close. It's insane. I don't get it.
I'm just imagining, you know the movie Men in Black, right?
Yep.
Sugar I'm just imagining
in water.
Edgar, yes. And then her handing him a glass of the wine and him just being like, too much.
Yeah.
More water.
Yep. Oh, boy.
Well, there's your 90s pop culture reference for the day.
Pretty much. Yeah. I'd say so.
Yeah.
We got fun stuff to talk about, kind of. We can't forget about Twitter. You know, still doing the disc of the week. I forget what it was off the top of my head. I saw it, but
Ben's,
it was
Innova Champion Starfire, I believe.
Nice.
That was the
nice tie-dye swirl. Really pretty disc.
Yeah, before I knew how disc fly, it was the prettiest one at the store, so we did that. And it said distance driver. It turns out actually threw that one quite a bit.
Don't lie, you still buy the pretty ones anyway. Doesn't matter how they fly.
Don't we all?
Hey, if it looks pretty, it's got a good chance of getting in the bag, and then it also has a very good chance of going missing. So
right here, this one,
stayed.
My hand-eye shiny clear one.
This is my player pack from today.
Nice.
We'll see if it makes it in.
What is it?
It's an EMAC Judge.
Okay.
What plastic?
I'm not entirely sure. It feels like Classic Soft. It might be Classic Blend, though.
Okay. Those feel similar.
Yeah, if you want to get rid of it, I know a good home that would love it. So
we'll see. I need more putters now that I have the basket downstairs. And that's why I picked that up. My choice was that or a Maiden for a putter.
Maiden's also a solid choice.
Yeah. I'm like the Maiden.
Yeah, I bagged both actually. Up until today, I had bagged an EMAC Judge, a regular Judge, and a Maiden. So
okay,
that's pretty solid. So still doing that. Follow us, Half in the Bag DG, or
please
Joe's
send your
Disc Golf
submissions for your disc of the week using the hashtag HITB Disc of the Week for Half in the Bag Disc of the Week, and we'll see if we can get some people besides our discs, because we have a lot of pretty ones, but I want to see other people's pretty discs.
Enunciation is key.
Pretty and just have to go with whatever's there.
Make sure you enunciate too, RJ.
Disc.
Also, Instagram. I have Instagram, Joe's Disc Golf. There's also the websites, Half in the Bag DG and joesdiscgolf.com. YouTube is joesdiscgolf.com. And that's also where you can find this podcast.
Joe's Disc Golf.
Or /, Joe's Disc Golf. Words are hard, man. It's
do you even know your own website, bro?
No, not at all. I'm looking at website and I'm looking at YouTube, seeing website, and just like everything is mashing together right now. Podcasts, obviously, if you're listening to this one, you know where to find Half in the Bag. But if you're looking for more straight up news and analysis, solo by yours truly, you can also listen to Joe's Disc Golf podcast wherever you get your major podcasts for free. Free 99. And
are we a major podcast?
Sure. It's part of the Joe's Disc Golf podcast network. Combined, we have over 50. We have over 50 listeners combined between the two podcasts. Which there's probably a lot of crossover between the two.
Let's see. All three of us make up 6.
Yeah. No kidding. And then we are doing a weekly Skip Ace League, a regular, every week you pick them. Right now, salary cap is at 6,000 points, which this year, given the ratings inflation that has gone on, makes it rather difficult to get a solid top pro and not end up with a whole bunch of like 950 rated guys, which will cost you more points in the end. So looking at raising the salary cap there overall. But if you're interested in joining, there will be a link in the description below. If not, if you want to remember the code, it's 3CQF. But there'll be a link in the description below because the odds of you leaving this podcast are probably pretty high at this point, but you shouldn't.
Maybe through the magic of editing, Joe could throw it on screen.
Yes.
No, that's too much work.
Yeah, well, no, I can do that. It's just assume it. We get about a grand total of like 8 people who watch it for an average of 9 minutes. So we're good right now. We're at just about 8 minutes. So
Hi, viewers.
All right, we're at the 8-minute mark now. Let's see if anybody stays past this. We love you if you do.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Us
All right.
hosts here are going to be doing a fantasy baseball, football, whatever style year-long thing that is brand new to Skip Ace this year, which I didn't know right off the bat. It's not a big cost, but it is $10 for your league. And I assume there's a limit. I don't know how many. I'm going to guess like 6-7 people. Once you get too many with
did not look into it.
With each person taking 10 MPO, it's only MPO, there's no FPO. So with each person taking 10, you're going to run into some issues quick. You're going to start getting towards the bottom of guys you're like, that Brody Smith, he sounds really good compared to Johnny Walker down here at the bottom.
Yeah, I got to say today I actually went and did a little bit of research, mainly for the sake of podcasts, so I can pretend to have something to talk about with, picks 28, 29, 30. But kind of putting through my top 30 wasn't terribly hard. I got to say, if you have maybe a 5-person league and you're looking at top 50, you might want to adjust maybe the 10 starters down to 8 or, kind of adjust your leagues accordingly because names are going to start to get pretty thin. And the issue isn't necessarily that there's not good disc golfers out there. It's disc golfers that play in enough tournaments to make it worthwhile to be a big issue too. And that was definitely some of the things, like looking at my list, it's like I took some names off based off of, I don't think they're going to play that much. I also, knowing that we have a bench, put some names on, knowing that they're a really good disc golfer, but they may have to sit for half of the year.
Yeah, you've got some guys that are pretty solid that are regional players. I'm trying to think off the top of my... Andrew Fish, I think, is one of them. I think he plays mostly...
I'm not telling you because I have small notes on there for me.
I believe he is mostly an East Coast guy, and I can't remember the name of the guy who's out in the West Coast and does mostly like Vegas, Beaver State Fling, that kind of stuff. But he's essentially the same as Andrew Fish, but other side of the country.
Well, and that's the thing. It also has guys that don't really even tour. I mean, Eric McCabe is on here.
Yeah, that's
He's
the
going to play
problem
in
too.
one tournament. in Pro Masters 40 plus, it's like, yeah, I'd love to pick him up, but
he's still a really solid disc golfer, but he's not going to score you points because he doesn't play in anything.
Yeah. That's definitely one of the big things. If he goes straight by ratings, you can get in trouble if he goes straight by ratings.
Yep.
And that is how it's organized, because it makes the most sense that that's how it's organized. So
yep.
But yeah, we want to get into technically our league opens in 5 more minutes here, so we have 5 minutes of stall time here. Do we want to get into this week's big news?
Sure.
The Catrina Allen signing finally has a landing place, heading back home for her, back to DGA.
Yeah, I forgot she was, as an AM, she was sponsored by DGA. Or maybe not forgot, but did not know, because...
Just did not know. Prodigy is where I first heard of her. Yeah.
She's been she was with Prodigy for 9 years. And, I mean, technically I got into disc golf. Ian actually reminded me. I got into disc golf. He took me out our freshman year of college. So that was 2007, 2008. I didn't know anybody in disc golf at that point. I didn't know there was a whole tour. Like, I guess that time,
there was pros. I just thought that was a thing you did out on the park.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So to find out all that stuff far after the fact, it's like, oh, okay. So she has been, she's basically been at Prodigy almost longer than I've been playing disc golf.
Yeah.
I got a few more years, but still.
Pretty much.
One of the top female players, and kind of looking at what she had posted on, kind of her YouTube, Twitter, whatever she posted it through, I saw the video. It's just that sense of comfort for her. Yeah. That knowing that she's with a company that truly cares about her and her well-being. Catrina is obviously arguably in the U.S. top 2.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't think there's any debate in the U.S. that she's top 2. Maybe when you talk about worldwide, she's
definitely top 5.
Probably top 5. Yeah.
She's got a huge arm. She's got a great scramble game. She's got a good mindset when she plays. I mean, her only knock is her putting.
Yeah, but and hopefully that
when you park half your holes, you don't need to putt much.
Yeah, exactly. So, your C1X looks like crap when you're putting it inside 10.
Yeah. She's a great player. And so to have that comfort of just knowing that there's people around her that truly care about her, all that's just a really, really kind of, I think, a cool thing. And I think it's a good landing spot for her. I'm surprised, honestly, she didn't go with a slightly bigger company.
Yeah.
Just because she is that good. With some of the big signings like Kona and Valerie and some of the big signings with Paige and her paycheck the last couple of years, I'm surprised she didn't kind of chase the paycheck a little bit.
Yeah, but
to kind of go back home, I think is a really cool thing for her.
And on top of that, is it her husband? Is that who Austin Hannum is?
Significant other of some kind.
Yes, her partner.
They're very
we'll say.
If they're not married, they are basically married.
Right. Her partner, is a pro disc golfer. So it's definitely a scenario where, maybe she didn't need to go chase that paycheck. And it really was, she wanted to go where she thought she would have the most success.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, if this is what she kind of started throwing, if this is kind of how she started getting into the pro tour, obviously not her first pro sponsor, but her first sponsor, as she said in her full video. I mean, hats off to her, and if this is what's going to make her happy, good luck to her, and I'm hoping that she does really well this year. It sounded to me like this was a move that had been decided on, but just the details hadn't been fully worked out, and they weren't quite ready to announce it. Is that how it sounded to you guys too?
Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me. That's kind of the feel I got from the video, and kind of, it looked like they wanted to have everything prepared. I mean, it already sounds like they have discs in the making for her.
Yeah, they already got a signature line out for her. Probably sold out by now. And I want to make
I would assume so.
I want to make one correction from my podcast, and I have to wait a week to do it. I think I said that Innova makes DGA, and it's actually Discraft that makes DGA discs. So, one thing that was brought up on the Upshot Ultiworlds podcast is they brought up the point that part of the weight, one, was to make it so like it was her, not trying to compete with the like Kona and Ricky and all that news, or the Haley King surprise move, basically. Yes. But also because DGA gets their discs from Discraft, they have to wait in line. Now they might get some priority stuff, but part of that might have been them waiting to get enough discs because they knew they're going to sell like hotcakes. Whatever her signature disc is, at least even for this run, is going to just go real fast. Yeah. So that was one of the things. And I was like, that kind of makes sense because, waiting to make sure that she gets her time in the sun. But at the same time, it's getting kind of close.
All right.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be exciting to kind of see what DGA comes with. They're definitely a smaller company. They have a couple of, good
They got
pros.
the baskets.
Yep.
Well, they got Andrew Marweed.
The baskets. I'm kind of excited to see what comes forward out of them. I do think that I think it's a good thing to kind of get some extra brands in there compared to your top 3, top 4, top 5, and kind of start growing it. There's new companies popping up with a handful of discs. I mean, DGA's been around for quite a while, but it'll be hopefully to kind of see them maybe make a push for one of those top tier kind of spots and just give everybody more choices. I think it's a good thing for her. I think it's a good thing for that company. Yep. And hopefully it's a good thing for the sport going forward. So
even you mentioned more brands coming into it. As I mentioned on a podcast a few weeks ago, a brand that I just heard of recently, not even a new brand, was Gateway. And the only reason I heard of it was because of the fact that I was literally 10 miles from their distribution center.
Yep.
Okay.
Today in my tournament, I saw Lone Star disc.
Yep. That's a new one that's getting pretty popular. They've got some pretty talented regional pros. A lot of guys.
I think Waco is going to be an eye opener for them.
Yeah, they got a lot of Texas, Mississippi, Louisiana, those
Texas State.
Yeah. Obviously, they're based in Texas, but most of their stuff is that southeast region.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they go all the way to Florida. I'd say it's pretty much Texas, Mississippi, Alabama, that kind of spot.
So,
I think that brings us into the second part of the podcast here that we wanted to hit today because on the clock is now RJ for our Skip Ace yearly draft. So last week we went through our top 10s and it got us talking, going, you know what? Let's actually put our, lack of money behind our mouth and see if we can actually put it together and, make an argument of why we think these guys are going to go. So, like Joe had mentioned earlier, we put together a year-long league between the three of us that we'll touch on occasionally here when we kind of do our weekly stuff and kind of how things are going. And, let's...
I just hope I pay more attention to this than I usually do for fantasy baseball or fantasy hockey, because it's about the same length as both of those. Fantasy baseball, April, May, part of June, I will be tweaking things and doing things and constantly doing things. Then I forget about the league until August. And then it's like, oh, hey, I'm in first place because I got, I left all the good players in and didn't panic when they had a slump because I completely forgot I had anything. But I honestly pay way more attention to disc golf, obviously doing this podcast, the other podcast. So I will most likely be paying way more attention to this.
And what I like about it too is it's closer to football and you only have to pay attention once a week as compared to every day.
Where you're setting lineups and
which day of the week may be different between Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
But generally we're going to be setting this just once a week, probably the week ahead. We'll get our lineup, our weeklies, we'll do Vegas that Sunday before. So that'd be next week actually.
No,
the week after. We got DGPT All-Stars next week, and then Vegas the weekend after that.
That we're 2 weeks out from DGPT.
Yeah, that we're talking about.
Oh, that's right. Yes. I had the wrong schedule pulled up here. I was don't do drugs.
Well, for our listeners that are going to go through this shit show with us, we're going to attempt to do this live, do the draft, and bullshit about why we made the picks that we made.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, RJ, on our random order, you draft number 1, myself at number 2, and Joe number 3 with a snake order going through.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's a really good thing because I'm on the clock. It's a really good thing this isn't a time draft, or else I would have already be on my 3rd pick by now.
I do have the option to auto pick for you if I really don't like you. I can skip this.
You could.
Event move or whatever my name is.
Anyway, so yeah, my first pick, I really want to go with Ricky, but unfortunately he's not on here. So I'll settle for this Richard Wisniewski, Wisaki,
Mike Wazowski,
TJ Hushmanzada. Yeah, Ricky Wysocki is my number 1 pick.
Aaron Regadgers.
Yes. Yes, I'm kidding about Ricky not being on here. Ricky Wysocki is my number 1 pick.
I got really confused. I was like, what are you on?
How did you sort it? He's literally number 1 on the list. Yep. Well, I gotta say, I'm quite happy going number 2 so that I don't have to make the decision that you just made. I'm gonna pick who last week I said was my number 1. As far as anybody on this list, more world championship wins, more money earned than anybody actively playing right now.
Ken Climo is still playing.
Ken Climo is on the list.
Is he still on the list? Okay, I do apologize. I got to go down a ways. You know what? Hey, I picked 30 for the 1 tournament he's going to play. I might do it. Yeah. But I'm going to go with a solid Paul Macbeth as my pick at number 2. What's nice is for the first probably 2 rounds, we don't have to talk a whole lot about him because we spent 2 hours in last week's episode talking about him. So, trying to keep things at a more reasonable number today. We'll save our talks for trying to bullshit why we made a choice that we did at pick number 25 on our team.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Joe, by my reckoning, that means that you get the first actually hard pick of the draft. So who are you going with here?
Oh, this is actually going to be a little tough.
And remember, you got back-to-back here.
I know.
If you're debating between 2, your life gets real easy.
I'm debating between 8, so it really doesn't.
Now you're in trouble.
It really doesn't.
Again.
Pick Climo. Pick Climo. Just do it. You won't.
I'm just happy for whoever you drop to me coming up next, to be fair.
Yeah. I know, because it's
I'm curious to see who I get.
I'm gonna have to do it, even though he's got that injury that he's still working through, and he's having a baby. No, I'm kidding. I'm going with Eagle.
I was really hoping that the injury was going to scare you away and he might fall back to me.
I was wondering if he might fall to me.
I was wondering, because I was like,
Well, let me put it this way, Joe. If you didn't pick him up at 3 or 4, you were not going to get him at 9 or 10.
No, I know that.
No way.
That was one of those, you know what? If he plays like crap the first tournament or 2, throw him down to the bench. See what happens.
Once his arm is fresh, he's gonna be a contender no matter what.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. I think Ben and I both said that we expected him to be number 1, if not for the injury.
I'm going to have to go.
I have a very safe argument for it.
Yeah. I thought I would put. I forget. I think I had him at 4th or something. Oh, I actually have my list right here. I had him at 5th, but I definitely would have put him higher. I don't know, with his injury, basically. Mm-hmm. I'm going to have to go with the guy who has had more second place finishes than anyone else last year. Always a bridesmaid, never a bride. The Borg himself, Calvin Heimberg.
Yep. That's a solid pick there.
He's very solid. I'm hoping he gets a couple wins. He's the dude where I'm just how did you not get a win last year?
He was just so close so many times.
I know.
And I gotta say, just looking at this, I was happy to have number 2 and not have to make the decision between Ricky and Paul. But I was actually really happy with Joe's spot because even Eagle and Kelvin are solid picks.
And I pretty much
think year long.
When I looked at the draft order, I was like, well, I'm not getting Eagle or Paul, so who's my number 4? Or not Eagle, Ricky or Paul. So who's my number 3 pick or number 2 pick?
So I really think that almost brings me to the hard decision here. During our list, I said Chris Dickerson at number 4, and our number 4. Number 5 was Dickerson. I had him ranked at 4. Everything, if I don't bite my own words from last week, say to draft Chris Dickerson. And that is absolutely the smart play to do. But I'm going to take the risk of the kid that got hot last year, big arm that I think is going to really come out running and have potential to score well at certain tournaments. I'm going to go with Kyle Klein.
I think he's going to be up there. I think that's a really good pick. That was actually someone I was considering for my 3 and 4 pick.
Mm-hmm. I was kind of hoping you'd take the risk and I could get one of them, but Dickerson, of course, if I don't, eat my words from last week, I just think there's a lot of me thinking Kyle Klein's going to come up big. Now, that could be a giant bust pick. Yeah. Being young, does something stupid, he can get himself in trouble by running things, but the way this tournament's set up is kind of golf style scoring. The higher you finish, the lower points you get, and I'm just going to take the risk that this kid can get me a couple top-tier finishes, and I just hope that with the day that he picks 50th, that I like someone else better in that slot.
Yeah. He runs the putt instead of getting first, he ends up second or third, and it's like, well, that's still good points with the way this is set up.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Yes. So that actually makes my picks really easy because, Ben, if you weren't going to pick Chris Dickerson, I am going to pick him. Number 6, and then my number 7, or my number 7 overall pick, my number 3 total pick. I'm going with the guy that I was higher on than anyone else last week. I'm going with Kevin Jones.
Okay.
I thought that you would probably pick Dickerson, in which case I was going to pick up Klein and Jones. So
it worked out.
Yeah, Dickerson and Jones. So I'll take those two, and now you're back on the clock.
Yeah, just kind of going back to Kevin Jones, the little bit of research that I did, it seemed like every tournament he was top 10.
He's a solid finisher.
Style of draft. He's ranked number 12 in the world currently, and the stat that I found very interesting on him that I love, more birdies than pars.
Okay.
Throughout the year last year. He was one of the few people that literally scored more birdies than pars. And that stat to me is just crazy. Obviously it was because he had a couple fantastic freaking tournaments, and it could be because he maybe had a handful more bogeys than he did pars in those certain situations, but just that stat looked really, really cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Next up, oh goodness, I have thoughts here. There are definitely some top tier talents.
Yeah, no.
But I think I'm going to go with Adam Hams, I think is my next pick, the number 7th overall in the world. He finished 5th in points last year, had an MVP Open win, 26 career wins, solid player, good finishes. I'm really hoping he has good things for me this year.
Okay.
I think that's a good pick.
Oh, God. There are names on here that I'm just like, what do I do?
Who are you?
No, not necessarily
doing research all day because he got bored.
Not necessarily that, but it's just like
with an 8,000 PGA number, not an 80,000, an 8,000.
Oh, yeah, one of the originals.
Mananabu Kajiyama, big number 1 dude in Japan. One of the fun facts. One of the fun facts from where he played, and I forget how long ago it was, but a bunch of guys went over and played in Japan. There was some law that the disc golfers did not get an exception to. The PDGA over there didn't get an exception to. Basically, you couldn't have something you could throw that was over 150 grams, otherwise it was considered a weapon. So this dude is crushing it with 150 gram discs.
Ooh,
yeah. RJ's got to watch some video on this guy.
Yeah, I don't know how much he's coming over here for. That's the thing.
He's
very
I clicked
good.
on his PDGA number.
That too.
He does not have any tournaments listed for 2022.
Okay.
In 2021, he played 2 B tiers in Japan.
Yeah.
So
I have to assume he's probably getting older with a number that high too.
Yes. I don't think he was one of those guys that daughter was born or kid was born, bought a PDGA number right off the bat. Or you see some of these where you're like, how did you have a number in the 20,000s? When I was born, my dad bought me PDGA number.
Yeah. I couldn't tell you. Member since 2002.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, there's so many good people here.
Who are we on? We got on back-to-back Joes here?
Yeah. I'm actually going to take a chance here on someone who has recently switched teams. I'm going to go with Matty O.
Okay.
He was my hope that he was going to fall a touch.
He's a solid player. He's a solid player there.
Big thing with him, he didn't do a ton of traveling last year for tournaments and still finished very high. And it sounds like he's planning on traveling a lot this year. I mean, he's a good disc golfer. The big thing with him, he's got that weird putting style.
He does, but it works.
It works for him. I mean, he putts from like his chin and spins it. I don't even know. It is spin putt. There is nothing pushed about it.
I mean, I guess if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
It works. For him, it works very well.
It really does.
He's with Westside now, I believe, correct?
Yes, he is. I'm going to go with... Here's another one. Another guy coming off an injury, but looking really good. Gavin Rathbun.
Ooh.
Okay. I had him a little bit lower on my list, but that's another one kind of like Kyle Klein. Younger.
Yep.
Has a lot of potential.
Oh, yeah. It's right now looking at it, I'm just trying to look through and go, all right, like there are some high-rated players here that I have never heard of.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. One of the notes I had on Gavin was he's one of the top players in greens and regulation.
Yeah. And he just had labrum surgery.
Plays the holes the way they're designed to be played. Yep. Doesn't take a ton of unnecessary risks.
And his putting was pretty good, too.
Green, and your putting gets a little bit better. You get a little bit confident. You get a little bit more used to it. And definitely can see some big finishes out of it.
His rating is lower than it should be because he tore his labrum sometime. I forget when. But he played through it for a while. And I think at Worlds, he really jacked it up and kind of fell off a cliff with that. Like it was not going well. Like if you look at his finishes and his ratings, it just kind of tanked after Worlds. And it had more to do with that injury. But he had labrum surgery in November-ish.
Okay, so
I saw him post a picture.
Feeling pretty darn good.
He is planning to be at Las Vegas.
Okay.
And, I mean, he's 18, 19, had labrum surgery, 3-month recovery. Like, I'm more nervous of him shaking off the rust than anything else.
Yeah, like we've mentioned before, we're all the medical professionals. At that age, you bounce back quick from something like that. And you really do.
It's going to be more of a mental than a physical. And hopefully, like some of the videos he's posted on Instagram, he's looking good. But we'll see. That's Instagram not screwing around, but like not a tournament situation.
You can pick which things you want to put.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well,
unless you're Eagle and you decide to post your video of subluxing or dislocating your shoulder.
No, he didn't.
That was his elbow, wasn't it?
No, that was his shoulder.
No, it was shoulder.
Oh, was it the shoulder? Okay, I thought it was the elbow.
Everybody assumed it was the elbow, and when I actually looked at it, I was like, he doesn't do anything with his elbow. He immediately grabs his shoulder.
Yeah, you watch the shoulder just kind of flail around there.
I honestly saw it from a distance on Kayla's phone and didn't look into it going, well, crap. I thought he was going to have a really, really good next year. And turns out he still could.
He could. Didn't have surgery, so I'm curious.
We're still hoping he does.
Yes.
All right. Well, that
brings him up. Like,
betting on him doing well.
He's number 3 overall in our draft. I'm really hoping. I'm banking a lot on him.
Yeah. I am, I'll be honest, I'm struggling with this next pick. I don't know where I want to go.
I have a couple thoughts.
A couple names coming through. There's a lot of guys still with some very top finishes. I think the one that I just haven't been super high on, I think I'm going to go with right now, and that's going to be Drew Gibson.
Okay.
Just always seems to be in the top 5 when he does finish well.
Yes.
He's getting a little bit more confidence in that putter. That Penrose has just been killing it for him. He's got a huge arm when he decides to open up. I don't love his mental game, but I think for the sake of how this league works, where top finishes really, really benefit you, I think Drew Gibson's going to be a good pickup for me there.
Yeah, well, he walked off the course this weekend.
Because you wanted it?
Correct. I was going to pick him. Since I can't pick him, I am going to pick the reigning world champion, James Conrad.
That was the one I was debating against, along with another couple.
Yeah, so then I get some options that I'm not 100% sure where to go with this.
Okay, cool. Pick one of the two guys I'm thinking of to make my life easier, like you did with picks 1 and 2 here.
I agree.
Who are you thinking of?
Not telling you that.
Oh, man.
Because if they're both around, I'll take them both.
Yep.
So I have, like I said, I have a couple thoughts on where I want to go with this pick.
Okay.
So just to give people an idea of kind of where I'm looking, we're out of the top, the really, really top guys.
You're looking outside your top 10 now for sure.
Yeah, we're definitely looking outside the top 10. We're looking at guys rated probably around 10. For me, it's 1035 and lower, which are still exceptional disc golfers. Some names that you will probably recognize are Nate Sexton, Eric McCabe, some other guys around there. So really it comes down to, do I go with guys that I know more of, or do I go with some guys that I'm not sure about, but I trust the ratings and trust them to be good? It's tough. I have a guy that I want to pick, but I think this is a little bit of a reach spot for him. Actually, there's two guys that I want to pick, but I think it's a little bit of a reach spot for both of them.
One of those little bit of reaches I'm thinking about also. I'll tell you that right now. Because I feel like I know who you're looking at.
You want Eric McCabe.
Mainly, I'm just trying to convince you to reach early right now so that I have some options. But
I'm going to go for Cale LaVisca.
Oh, okay.
Solid player. He's going to be in a lot of the stuff. And I think that a couple of the guys that I'm looking at now will be available next time around, hopefully.
One thing about Cale LaVisca is that dude can putt from distance. If he is near the hole, he's got it. And that's why he's one of the best players out there. He's got one of the best long-range putts. If he can put it within 50 feet, you just kind of assume he's going to be there.
Yeah. So I ended up going with him. Ben, did that make your life easier or harder?
No, that wasn't the reach I thought you were going to go for.
Well, that wasn't a reach. That was the top-rated player.
Yeah, as far as ratings go, he was the next best. I believe he's currently ranked number 15 in the world. Mm-hmm. And you picked him at, what was it, 12,
number 13 overall.
13? So, I mean, right around where he should be going. So, definitely not a reach with him. I had him listed a little bit lower, just for the sake of, I can't remember how often he travels. And so, to be able to put him in there. That's
one of the nice things is on here, you can click on their PGA number and see what their upcoming tournaments are.
So that'll be nice. When he does play, he's going to be an easy, I'm putting him in my lineup, no thought about it kind of player.
Yep. So who are you reaching for now?
That's a good question.
Brody.
Not quite there yet. He definitely does not fall in my top 30, but I took down some notes on him just in case for fun. One name, you know what? I had him in my top 10, so it's done not to look at him now, right? I'm outside of my top 10. It's dumb not to look at him.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Garrett Gurthie. I got to scroll down a little bit to find him because his rating is not the highest because he is not the greatest putter.
Yes.
But when you talk about a guy that can bomb a disc and gets really good finishes on those long courses,
you're a bastard.
That's where I'm going to swing. So I'm going to go Garrett Gurthie as my next.
You want to know who I wanted to go with back to back?
Garrett Gurthie and Cale LaVisca?
Yes.
Joe's thinking he's in the safe spot here. All right, Joe, well, you got back-to-back picks.
I know, but now I really I am at the point where I'm like, son of, what do I do?
Make a pick.
I know.
Brody Smith, if nothing else.
I don't think he's going to finish that well this year.
Do I have some arms on my team, though? I just looked at my team. I got Paul McBeth, Kyle Klein, Drew Gibson, and Garrett Gurthie.
Yeah, you do.
And
you're winning
Adam
the distance.
Adam Hammis is my least distance thrower out of the group. That's apparently on my mind is a one-track thought for Vegas and Waco, and then I'm going to be screwed the rest of the year.
Pretty much.
No, you still have Paul McBeth.
Yeah. Did we stall long enough, Joe? Did we stall long enough?
Maybe.
Picky
we'll see. He keeps popping up. Like, I keep looking at him, like Nate Sexton, but like...
Hey, next highest rated player, European, Linus Karlsson. I did see him as an option to pick for Las Vegas. He's coming over for a couple tournaments.
Ben.
Linus, Linus is coming over. He's actually one of the international guys that's coming over for the most. Now that I'm looking it up,
I think he is too. I think is he Latitude?
It wouldn't surprise me. He's Swedish.
I want to say he's Trilogy Plastic of some sort, if I'm not mistaken.
Because I was looking at like Vino Makala, but he's only coming here for like 4 tournaments, and Linus is going to be here for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8
he's
through
here
April.
At least
plus the European.
Yeah, he's hitting everything. I'm going to go with him. If nothing else, I can, bench him and
the first international player off the board. Then,
I mean, that's a good pick. If he was around for me, I was probably going to pick him up. So,
my bad for mentioning the name, RJ. I thought he was a little bit of a reach just based off of tournament numbers.
Yeah, I wasn't sure.
Up, Ben.
And then.
All right, so who's your safe pick coming back? And he took a risk. Who's the safe one?
I think I'm going to go with... I've been kind of eyeing Mason Ford.
Nah, you don't want him.
I was kind of looking at the numbers. It's weird to see Simon still on the board, but with him missing such a huge chunk...
You don't want to take 2 half-season risks in a row. I can promise you don't want to do that.
Mainly because Ben wants Simon.
Probably. We'll do that. I'll take the chance on Simon.
Did you really?
Yep.
Wow.
He really was who I was going to go with.
The thing is, he compliments Linus well because Simon isn't doing much the first half.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know about the second half at all, but...
No, they complement each other, though. What Linus is hitting is what Simon's missing. And I don't know if you can drop players in this or not. I don't know if, the 10 you draft or the 10 you're stuck with. The joys of figuring this out at the ride, and if it is, Linus is a great pick.
I'm going to look at the rules while you pick.
Locking up Simon for the second half, so I truly, truly was going to go there.
Yeah.
If he was available for me, I was going to go with him, too.
Yeah, I think...
So we were all thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so while the season is underway, you can swap players if available and promote or demote players to the bench position. Rosters are locked once the event is underway. So, normal fantasy rules where... once it's going, you can't go, Aaron Rodgers is having a bad game right now. I need to drop him real quick.
Well, I'm going to go with the next one I had listed on my list, and that's going to be Joel Freeman.
Okay.
Who?
Player out of Innova. He was ranked 12th in DGPT standings last year, number 13 currently overall in the world. One thing I love about him, he's got a great scramble game. Unlike Kale Leveska, or Garrett Rathburn, who is consistently on the green, Joel finds his way there.
Him too.
And very top consistent finishing player.
Yep.
Always seems to be in the argument, never for the win, but always for that top 10. That's where I'm thinking I'm going to kind of go with this one here.
Okay.
So I think that brings back RJ back to back here.
Yes. Well, Joe, I told you not to take Mason Ford. That's because I wanted him.
Yep.
So I'll go ahead and scoop him up real quick while he's still available. And then that makes my next pick a little bit harder. Part of me is considering Nate Sexton. I just worry about how much he's going to tour.
That's the big issue with him.
Schedule.
Yeah.
He has the 4 DGPT events through April. Yep. But if he's only going to be playing in the big ones, I assume that there will be Silver Series and stuff in there too. So, that makes me worried about, is this the time to pick him up?
Yeah.
Another one that I'm looking at is maybe Nico Castro.
He still is not signed.
He's one that's on the top of my list. The not having a brand at least announced.
Yeah.
I'm assuming still he's got to be going open bag. But if he's not going open bag and has to start to learn some discs quickly, that could be a big change.
Season. At this point, my roster is looking like this. It's Ricky, Dickerson, Kevin Jones, James Conrad, Cale LaVisca, Mason Ford. So I have 4 picks remaining.
What that looks like remaining. You need a big arm. You need someone from my team. You have some consistent finishers. Go find a bomber.
I don't know people well enough to go get a bomber.
Well, there's one that looks like a Hulk, I'll tell you that.
Yes.
He's from Germany.
From Germany?
Isn't Ezra from Germany? I thought he was German.
I mean, his last name is, but he's from the U.S.
I thought he was... No, I think he's born overseas, if I'm not mistaken.
Hang on. What does
According to the PGA, he's from the European country of Aberdeen, South Dakota.
I was wrong. I truly thought he was born overseas.
That's a foreign country.
South Dakota, yeah.
You know what?
I mean, it's practically Canada.
Ben, I wasn't going to reach for him this early. I'm going to do it because I am expecting him to have a good season. He's absolutely a bomber. So, You know what? I'm going to reach for him a little bit and, he's my number.
I'll be honest, I don't think that's a big reach. I mean, to be one of your bottom tier starters, I don't think is a reach.
Yeah. I feel better about that than Nico because of the Nico rule, as I mentioned last year, because he's unsigned. And then there are some other players between those two that I think are probably a good pickup. But I think that I think I'll be okay with that pick.
Yeah. No, honestly, he was on my list. I just wanted to joke when you said, looking at the guys that you have, the one thing I saw is you have a lot of Woods consistency. Ezra gives you options for something like the Las Vegas. That's just going to be like, okay, we got open, we got a lot of room.
Yep.
He could pull up some big top finishes for you. I think that's actually a good mix.
As far as I can. And it's just going to keep going out of sheer fear.
The fun note I had on him is he finished number 3 at the long drive competition last year. I mean, that dude can rip.
Yeah, behind Garrett Gerthy and Eagle McMahon.
Which are just...
But I think I looked at it, and he only lost by a couple feet.
Yeah, all those guys can rip it. And
basically, it was who got lucky with the tiny bit of wind assist, essentially.
Yeah.
Because they all ripped it over 800 feet. Yes.
Ezra is definitely a better putter than Garrett.
Well, and that's the thing. This is now his 3rd year on tour.
Yep. 2nd year with a sponsor.
Second year with a sponsor. I'm like we said last week, we're expecting him to take a step up. He was our number 10 overall guy.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it might be a reach, but at number 19 overall,
not that big.
That's pretty good value.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
Yes. By ratings, it's a reach.
I think it's a good value pick for where you got him.
Yeah. Yes. No, very much so. I kind of forgot about him, honestly.
Which makes me in the same argument you were just having with yourself of Nico as the next one that's listed on my list. And do I want to take that risk? I mean, number 9 in DGPT, 22 overall in the world. Very strong finishes. Very strong finishes overall. But I think I'm going to go... I don't even know where he is on the list. I got to look up his rating here. He's going to be down. I'm going to go with the number 1 player in Canada, which is probably a little bit of a reach.
Oh, no.
But I'm going to go with Thomas Gilbert.
You son of a bitch.
Hey, keep it PG-10.
He is...
I had him listed as 1021, which apparently he's
1027.
Okay, he's even... Look at that. He's even less of a reach.
I might be looking at him right now.
I want to say, too, first openly gay player? Wasn't that released this
he
summer?
just announced that not long ago.
Oh, dang it! I went to click on him, and you picked him as I did that. So I clicked on Andrew Fish.
Hey, East Coast. He's going to be up there.
Speaking of Fish, I'm going to pick up a different Andrew. I'm going to go with Andrew Marweed.
Okay.
He has found himself on a lot of coverage. He does pretty solid. He just signed with DGA. He's the other. He did
go DGA.
Yeah,
awesome.
He's a big-ish name. He's between him and Catrina. DGA is going to be on a lot of coverage, and they're going to sell a lot of discs. Just because everybody knows your Destroyers, your EMAC Truths, your Paul McBeth line. I'll just say it that way. Every disc that Paul McBeth throws.
Yes.
Doesn't matter what it is. Anything from Discraft, essentially.
Or half throwing, let's be fair.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to also go with...
One thing I had noted with Andrew Marweed, when he is up in the Midwest, that guy is money.
He's from Michigan.
He's a Michigan-born player, and if he plays courses attached to Michigan, he's killing it.
He's good in the woods, for sure.
He was one of my players. When Joe mentioned Fry about being an East Coast guy, Marweed was my Midwest North guy. The other note I had on him is that guy does not miss short putts. He was number 8 overall in Circle 1, number 4 overall in Circle 1X. I mean, if he is near the hole, it's done.
Yeah. And then I'm going to go
Ben,
with...
let me ask you this. If he excels at courses attached to Michigan, does that mean that he would come and own Wisconsin too?
Probably. I mean, he's definitely up there. I want to say, wasn't Adam Hams a Wisconsin boy? I might be wrong. I want to say he's a Wisconsin boy.
Someone up there.
Giving you trouble about the UP.
Yeah. He's a Uber.
I know there's a good course up there. I have not played it yet, but I have heard that there is a good course up in the UP.
Okay.
Road trip.
My other pick, I'm going to go with Andrew Presnell.
I had those two listed as my next best available myself.
Nailed it. Another solid player.
For sure.
I just, now we're really getting to the guys where I'm like, I know the names. That's kind of where we're at right now.
All right, and now I'm on a debate because I know if I pass on Nico now, he's not going to last the next 2 picks for RJ.
True.
So I need to make that decision of, do I want Nico on my team?
Well, now that you said it, RJ's going to pick him.
Am I looking at the 2 players that I think RJ might take a risk on for the ones that I want coming back?
Yep.
You know what? I think now is the time for Nico. I do think he is going to find at least a usable bag for him. Like I said, I truly think he's going to go to some sort of open bag, which means he's not going to be behind the ball like Catrina. I think he's probably already in the talks with someone. It just hasn't been released yet. And he's been practicing. He's been going. He's a solid player. I think Nico is the next best available for me.
It's a good, by the numbers, that's not a bad thing. He's been in the top, 15 or 20 his entire pro career?
Yeah.
Notes, number 22 in the world right now, number 9th overall last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. If you didn't pick him, I was going to pick him up. Mm-hmm. Because he is, despite my concerns, he is still a good enough pick to be my absolute last starter. Which is what this round is that we're picking right now.
It is.
Yep.
So for my last starter, I'm gonna pick the young gun. I'm gonna pick Gannon Burr.
I like the pick.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was someone I was gonna do next.
Yeah, it's kind of like Joe said. You're really picking names at this point more than ratings, or at least for me, that's how I feel. Which makes this next pick really hard because I'm starting to run out of guys where I'm like, oh yeah, I know that person. Oh yeah, I know that person. There's
if
still
it
a
looks
couple
like
names
an
that I
awful
know.
pick, I promise you we'll point it out for you.
After you pick him.
So I mentioned this person earlier. Oh, never mind. I do not want to pick that person for sure. I mentioned this person earlier,
Jeremy Colling.
As who?
Similar idea, I think, is where you're going. I think you're going with the Firebird man himself.
Yep.
The money printing machine that is the Nate Sexton Firebird.
I believe that's
the sexy out of the big sexy commentary.
Yes, that is where I'm going as soon as I can actually scroll up to him. I was way down in the 10-16s.
Hey, if it makes you feel better, you have to scroll up to find him. You can't say that out of many players left on this board right now.
Correct.
Yes.
I was actually looking at Seppu.
Okay.
I was looking at him, and what scared me away from him was the fact that his PDGA membership is not current, which is going to make it awfully hard for him to participate in Las Vegas.
I mean, you can renew that in a half second.
Yes, but I think that's interesting, and the fact that that's the only tournament that's listed right now for him.
Huh.
But yeah, no, I'm going with Nate Sexton as a number 9 pick, basically, or as my second to last pick, my first bench pick. Like I said, he's gonna participate in the GGPT events,
and he's gonna do well in the ones he's in.
Yeah,
exactly.
For sure.
He's gonna do well in the ones he's in, so that gives me some leeway.
Like you said, for the first bench pick, solid first bench guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, Ben, that brings you back up. I picked, like I said, Gannon Burr, who I'm a little surprised fell this far.
He was definitely on my list as potential for sure.
Yeah, I kind of was going back and forth between the two Andrews, the Andes, the mountains that I picked up, and Gannon. But I had a theme I was working with.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. Like I said, I mean, I'm a little surprised. I'm a little bit hesitant because he's a slower player.
He has been working.
The new rule.
The rumors have been that he has been working hard this offseason to speed up.
Yes.
So it's either that or he's really going to get screwed because everybody's going to be calling him on it.
Yeah, same thing with Nico's in that same boat.
Yeah, he is not. He is not going to get the leeway with it that maybe some other players will get.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go, since you're going on that big sexy commentary, I'm going to go with the third wheel from last year. Ulibarri.
Oh, okay. I thought about him too.
His whole career, he's been a top finisher. Last year, he had a bad year. For him. Don't get me wrong. He still kicked my ass on a daily basis.
Oh, for sure.
But a bad year for him. I just have a feeling he's going to kill it. I mean, in 2020, I don't know if I found a tournament where he didn't finish top 20.
Yeah.
It was just 21 hurt him. And I've been following him on social media lately. He just really looks like he wants to turn it around, wants to be big. I like him as my bench spot, kind of bouncing with Nico LaCastro right now, depending on which one of them kind of gets their shit together at what time.
Yep.
I like that pairing as kind of my last starter, last bench. I think Paul Ulibarri, if he turns it around, could be a top 10 player. But that's a big if.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I hope it does.
I think
he's a really fun guy to watch. He's a fun guy to watch.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I'm going to have to go with the big out of the sexy and Barry commentary. And
Joe Mez Pro would be happy at the 24, 25, 26 pick here, huh?
27, 28 pick here. I'm going with the Jeremy Colling, even though he's learning a new bag again. Because seems like every other social media post I see from him, my car got broken into and my discs were stolen. I'm like, dude, stop leaving them all in your car.
But let's be fair. He's got enough following that if he needs a beat-in disc, someone will send him a beat-in disc.
I'm sure. And now he's got that new F1. Is it an F-150? Or did he go Chevy? I forget. He got a new pickup truck.
I missed it. I haven't followed that.
Yeah, he bought a brand new pickup truck. So, hoping he's a little smarter, locks that crap up. And then I'm
a little jealous of Mr. Irrelevant out of RJ. I don't know why I want it.
Just cause?
Yeah, just to say.
Do I go with?
I have.
All right, final pick for Joe. Who's the one making the tail end here? I have a few names that I want on my team, and I only have to pick one of them, and I don't love that.
I have one guy that I really want, And then I have a couple others. I'm like, okay, if I don't get him, I'll go with them instead.
See, the problem is he didn't do that well last year. Did he do? How was 2020?
Is it James Conrad?
No, James Conrad did not. He struggled. I'll say that.
No, and with my
and I know you already had him
pick, I'm hoping that he does better this year.
I'm going to take a chance here on Bradley Williams.
You not fun person. That is the man that owns Texas.
Yes, it is.
You can play him for the first half of the season very, very comfortably.
Yes. It was someone that I heard about last year towards the beginning, and then he kind of tailed off. He had some good contests here and there, afterwards. Don't get me wrong. It's just...
Once we get wooded East Coast, he drops off a little bit, but you give him the South, you give him some open.
That's why I got Jeremy Colling.
Player that is consistent.
Jeremy Colling in the woods is pretty solid.
Yeah. And that leaves me with some names. There's a few I want to play with, and I don't want to give too many away just because I know RJ's looking. RJ, if you want me to say some names here, I definitely will.
Go for it, because I have two guys that I know who my next two favorites are.
Okay, so
and you're hoping he chooses one of them.
Yeah.
I'll read off the names at the top of my list. One of them that comes to mind is Emerson Keith.
Okay.
Never a great finisher. Shorter guy.
He's one of my two.
How he is short as he is with as big an arm as he has is beyond me. I don't understand how he generates arm speed.
Same with Drew Gibson. Can we talk about that for a moment? Because his reach back is 6 inches.
Awful.
And
it's
then
awful.
T-Rex.
Oh my God.
T-Rex arms.
He's that guy.
Imagine if that guy did reach back.
He's that guy that you would look at as a pitcher and go, what? I can't fix that.
How do you generate velocity?
Why fix? And it's also why fix that?
No, I wouldn't touch
it. It works.
Correct.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But good Lord, that man never better be injured, because trying to fix that is going to be a poop show.
So I actually, Ben, I'll give you a little bit of time here to think this over. So when I was looking at getting Explorers this previous week,
that's also the reason I love him.
Yes, I was looking at getting one of his, but I couldn't find any in a color that I wanted. It was green and orange and pink, which I don't normally dislike pink, but my other 7-speed is a pink Maverick, and I'm I don't want to try and grab my Maverick and grab my Explorer, or my Explorer and grab my Maverick, because those two things fly very differently.
Your arm speed, one is very stable, one is
for
neutral.
sure. And that's how almost all of my bag is pink. Except, my Huck Lab Raider, because you can't get it in, because it's white with that cool whatever logo thing.
Symbol.
And then
so I actually ended up getting
my red Vandal, because if I pull out my Vandal and expect it to be not a Vandal, it's going to be a roller.
I want to say, is Linus the other one with the Explorer? I want to say I have a Linus Carlson Explorer. I may be wrong.
I think so.
I have a bunch of Explorers. Let's put it this way. I don't know what I have, because I have 5 in the bag.
There's a Ricky Explorer now, too.
Yep.
That's what I ended up getting, because I found it in this shade of blue that I only have for my Felon and my Musket.
Okay.
Which are unfortunately right next to each other in my bag. So sometimes I'll go to grab
fit
one.
Right next to those two also.
Yes.
It does, but it doesn't, because I have my Escape, my Jade, and my Lucid Escape, and my Kona Vandal in between those.
Yep.
I do forget that your bag, the distance driver for you, is that 10, 8, 9, 10, 11 kind of range.
Yeah.
So you have a lot in that area.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
and that was something.
Oh, go ahead.
That was something. I sent the tweet to you guys that said, "Well, what disc would you use for each slot?" And I'm I don't use an actual distance driver unless you consider the 10-speed Musket as a distance driver.
It is a weird crossover where 6-speed is kind of in that same
Yep.
Yeah.
Where you're like,
and even when you talk about discs like, the Harp, the Zone, I mean, those are they putters? Are they mids? You make its own category for approach because
it's putt and approach. That's
so,
the categories putt and approach, and those
so
are
Emerson
more
approach
approach
on my list. Yeah, I mean, the other one that pops up is Casey White. Had a couple big finishes last year. He's got a big arm, plays with Simon a lot, so you see him a lot on the social media. He really can rip a disc. He's now with Discmania full time, so a little bit more confidence that direction. Anthony Barella already has a tournament win this year, taking first at the Shelley Sharp. He's got a bunch of top tier finishes. Matt Bell, another DGA guy, has a bunch of top finishes. I think the one I'm going to go with is the #1 money winner last year in Nathan Queen. I'll be completely honest with you. I don't know a ton about him, but I want to say he was the PDGA #1 money winner throughout the year last year. So he may play in a lot of tournaments, but he's also finishing high enough that he's winning stuff in a lot of those tournaments. I don't have a ton of information about him. He had a couple he had a handful of top 3 finishes. He took #1 at the Tour Championships last year. He's a solid player that finishes high. The one thing that did scare me is when he doesn't finish high, he finishes really low. And for the sake of the way that this is scored, where it's more golf style scoring, those really low finishes can come back to bite me in the ass. But I like Nathan Queen. I wish I kind of had 1 or 2 more picks just for fun.
Yep.
But
you're the commissioner.
He's a solid player that I can take a look at, where his finishes have been at certain courses and kind of pick and choose courses with him being kind of one of those 2 bench players for me.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, I had 2 players on my board. Emerson Keith was one. That's actually who I'm going to go with. The other one was Chris Clemens.
Lefty.
The Clemonade.
Yep. Clemonade lefty.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily know a ton about him, but he's a name that I recognize. And he's someone that I'm like, okay, this is a guy that's going to play in tournaments consistently. It is going to get me enough points to feel comfortable when someone like Nate Sexton is not playing. When, some of those bigger names aren't there. When James Conrad completely explodes in every single tournament except Worlds, where he hits a miraculous turnover.
I mean, he played well all week there.
#1 finisher? Probably not. But is he going to score you some decent points? Hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm actually a little bit surprised. We're 30 names in, and there are still some people that I'm like, oh yeah, I could pick this person. Brody Smith was one that was actually on my list.
Yep. He was on mine also. He was one of the ones I was debating.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, not a bad pick. Not obviously a big name in that he's a big social media presence, but not necessarily the highest caliber of disc golfer, but someone who's gonna play in tournaments, someone who's going to pick up points for you. So to me, that's a
Well, and what I find interesting about him too, one, he's got a big arm. I mean, he's one of the more athletic guys on tour, to say the least.
Yes.
I mean, if
he came from Ultimate.
He reminds me of like Pat McAfee with football. Yeah, he's a punter, but he's a freaking athlete. He's kind of that kind of mold to me, where you look at disc golf athletes like Simon and Eagle, Ricky and Paul.
You think cross-country runner.
They're long, they're lanky. They remind you of cross-country runners. Yeah, they got the long arm that can roll. Brody Smith looks like an athlete. So I think, tour durability, I'm never going to question out of him. That guy's going to play the same in tournament 1 as he does in tournament 30.
Yep.
He's been putting a lot more in the off-season.
Yeah, he's been working out, too.
He's been working out. What I like
a lot of the guys have.
As weird as it stands, he's a big social media guy.
Oh, yeah.
But that also means he's practicing a lot to be able to put out videos. And I think the more he gets used to this game, the more he's going to go. He's also going to be a big name on fan-voted top cards.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's going to be playing with that top-tier talent more and more often. Mm-hmm. And Joe and I have said it plenty of times, even just in this podcast, the more you play with better players, the better you get.
Oh, yeah.
That's why Joe shoots MA1 when he plays tournaments. That's why we always try to golf in bigger groups with the top pros in the area.
Yeah, I try to get out with Jay more, and he kicks my ass every time.
Game. it just becomes better. And I think he's got potential to be the biggest shift from a low tier guy to a top tier guy. Is he going to be in top 10? No.
Probably not. No.
I don't think he's got the game for that. But sitting down in the 50s, 60s last year, I could see him making a push to the 20s.
He made bigger jumps. He said, I forget where it was, but he said something along the lines of he did better in 21 than he had predicted for himself. Yeah. Which is a good thing. Like, that's a fantastic sign.
If I remember correctly, his rating has jumped 10, 15 points in the last year.
Oh, yeah.
Which, you know, isn't...
And it's already a good rating.
Yeah. I mean, he's 10, 16, I want to say, is what I saw him at. Which, you know, if he gets that type of jump again,
10, 17.
We're easily talking about a top 30 guy.
Yep.
But
the other name we didn't mention that has a lot of potential is Scott Stokely.
Yeah.
I mean, he's one that I debated on and very well could be a pickup. If he does as well as he can in the first couple tournaments, I think the three of us are going to be fighting free agency to be like, yeah, I changed my mind. I want him on my list because he's a guy that has shown in the past he's a top tier player. Not kind of top tier. Top tier.
Like, I mean, the guy who's always getting second.
Ken Climo.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
And like Ken Climo and his spacing on the field is above Paige Pierce and her spacing on the field. FPO. I mean, he was great. So Scott Stokely is a very solid disc golfer. He's in better shape than he's ever been in. Mm-hmm. He's been sticking with the sport as far as teaching, social media presence, the whole works.
Yeah, he's been doing a good job with
what
that.
Seems like a fairly open bag. I think he's limited to a few companies, but he's throwing a fairly open bag. So he's throwing plastic that he's comfortable with.
He's throwing Castoplast. He signed with them.
Is it 100% Castoplast that he's throwing?
I thought so.
Or just certain molds out of that?
I know he's throwing the Berg.
Maybe that's a company that lets you throw a couple companies. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I was going to say, how do you not know about the Berg? Oh my God, it is everywhere.
I mean, yeah, when that's the disc to throw, that is 100% the disc to throw.
I've thrown it. I don't care for it. I know. Heresy. Burn me at the stake.
One of the guys that I was on a card with today, he threw the Berg, and I asked him how he liked it because it really does seem like a very decisive or divisive disc in that you either love it or you can't stand it.
I mean, you're not throwing it for distance, that's for sure shit.
No.
Well, he did throw it off the tee box once.
Well, but at Mosier,
it's Mosier.
It's Mosier, so...
So for those of you out there, Mosier is... I forget how...
The longest hole is 3-something.
Yeah.
It's 315, but for the most part, everything is 200 or lower.
I'd say 200 to 250 is probably your average hole. Not even 250?
No. A lot of, especially with the tee pads that because we were playing all shorts today.
You're playing shorts,
Okay. I usually play longs when I play there.
So
it still
was
longs
150
are not.
to 200 was the overwhelming majority of them. And he threw the Berg, not often off the tee, but a couple times. He finished one stroke better than me and finished third in the tournament. But yeah, I mean, so I asked him how he liked it, and he said so a little bit of background. I dropped down to MA4 today. Normally I like to play MA3 because I feel a little bit weird when I look at the ratings or when I look at the descriptions that say, 1 to 2 years, throw, this far to this far, hit this many putts out of this many, that type of thing. I think that the whole, divisional rating gates, that type of thing is a discussion for another time. But, But I dropped down to MA4 because at the time when I signed up, there was one MA2 player. And actually the guy that won MA3, I think, would have won MA2 as well.
I want to say it was around that point.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough. The dude doesn't have a PDGA number. I don't have a PDGA number, so I can't comment a whole lot on that. But it was kind of one of those where it's like, okay, you probably should have been up a division. But yeah, so I asked the guy today, and he said if I could control the distance on it, again, this was an MA4 card. He said that he thinks he would really like it, but as far as a putt and approach disc, he really liked it, and that was the disc that he was using as a putter. Had some really nice putts with it, so I certainly can understand why people like it. I have not thrown it yet. I have not gotten into the big craze. I'm a big fan of the Judge. That's probably what I'll throw until I die, unless I somehow ever get sponsored by someone.
Looking at the results here on the PDGA website, the guy who won it for rec was 6 under par, which would have put him tied for second in intermediate. At 7 under was the winning. And then advanced was 13 down. Yeah. Open was also 13 down.
Wasn't that was that Jay?
Yeah.
Yes, Jason won Open, and then
Jay tears that course up, so he had a bad round.
For those that haven't played Indiana, I've played with Jay a handful of times. I have seen him shoot 18 under at Mosier.
Oh, he's kicked my ass at Mosier. Yeah. At every course, but that's but looking at this,
I can't even pretend to keep up with him.
So just looking here, according to UDisc, the distance here is for the shorts, which is the main layout, 3,063 feet. So the longs are 4,500. So give or take probably 100 feet overall. It's a short course. It's a very technical course.
It is a very technical course, which was not good for me. I think we'll kind of get into kind of our last discussion, which will then springboard us into a pair of other discussions. But so I played in a tournament today. It was it's called the WIFS tournament. It's actually it stands for the Wintry Indiana Frozen Fundraiser Series at Mosier course today.
Yep.
It was actually a really nice day for disc golf. It was cold and it was snowy. There were a couple times where we were like, oh crap, did we lose a black disc in the snow because it got buried?
Yep.
And then I actually almost lost my musket today and was very lucky that it had a little skid mark behind it, or else I would have never found it.
Yeah, watch out for those skid marks.
But anyway, so I was actually putting at the same time as Jason during my warm-up for it. And, he said, I don't feel good about this one-round format because it doesn't give him the chance to warm up as much as he would like.
Yes.
He'd feel much better about a 36 or even further format, which I get for him. He is not as young as any of us are, and he's a pro. So for him, actually warming up might make a difference. But no, going back to what I said, going back to what I was actually going to say was, it was a really fun tournament. For those of you that are listening in and near the Indiana area, that series is going around, basically the whole state all the way through.
It's almost done.
Disc. Huh?
It's almost done.
No.
For the winter series?
Yeah, I thought the winter series was almost done.
It goes all the way through 327.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I played the fall series 2 years ago. I ended up winning that for intermediate, the whole overall series, without ever winning a tournament.
Yes. Well, so it's a fundraiser series. Yep. So actually, like I said, I am not a PDGA member, so the $10 tax for not being a PDGA member was waived because it's a fundraiser. Yep. For those of you in the Indiana area, whether that's Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, et cetera, you know the border states. I guess I could just say Kentucky and Illinois.
Yeah, I don't know if those guys would come up because this is mostly northern Indiana.
Yeah, looking at it, it looks like it doesn't necessarily get any further south than Indy. But
generally speaking, the fall series.
Oh no, there's a Terre Haute in here.
The fall series
that was on 1 2,
and the winter series
on 312.
Yeah, they generally they basically split the state in half. So the fall series is the Northern Indiana Fall Series or something along those lines, and it's basically Indy North. And I think it just makes it easier that way because you're not going to, like, I'm not most probably not going to drive to Evansville and vice versa. Like, those are pretty much the two furthest towns, Fort Wayne and Evansville, two major cities.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to drive
diagonal.
that far for a seat here.
Yeah.
Which, but yeah, it was a very fun round. The card that I was on was very laid back, very chill, very, hey, we're an MA4. We're sitting here just trying to get freaking pars, man. And it was a lot of fun.
Which you did consistently, which is awesome to see.
Yep.
Yeah, it was, so I will say it was very cold. It was about 27, 28 today with the sun, very little wind. So it actually wasn't too bad. After my warm up, I shed a hoodie that I had on, but I will say one of my bogeys I took because my hands were just straight up numb. I could not feel the disc in my hand.
I remember that message. Like, yep, I just bogeyed. I can't feel my hand.
Yeah.
So actually it was on hole number 3 and on number 2, I could not hit a line to save my life with my forehand today, which is not good because I am more of a forehand player than a backhand player. So I end up in a ditch off my drive. I get it up onto the, not quite the top of the hill, but like 5 feet off the top of the hill with my upshot. So I'm sitting away with like a 7-foot putt. My head is below the basket on a hill that's about, for those of you listening, it's probably a 45, 50, 60 degree angle.
Yep. Sounds
so
about
I'm sitting
right.
there and I'm just going, how the heck am I going to hit this shot? I end up on a knee, around a bush. I end up hitting the shot to save par.
Solid.
But it probably cost me because then as I'm going to get up, I slide all the way down the hill and I put my hands out and I just drag my throwing hand right through the snow. At this point, I'm top of the card. I'm top of the box. And so I don't have time to sit there and put my hand in my pocket with the hand warmers to thaw it out. So I'm just like, here we go. I guess I'm throwing this shot and hoping that it doesn't end up down another ravine. Mm-hmm. I didn't quite hit first available. I hit kind of the bundle of really small trees that were probably constituted second available. Then I tried to throw a turnover forehand shot with absolutely no power. So that hyzered out down into a ditch. And I ended up throwing EMAT truth and getting a bogey save out of it. But I was just like, I can't feel my hands. So after I made this really nice putt, I ended up taking back-to-back bogeys because I just had no feel for my disc.
Not sure what to do with my hands right now. Winter golf
and summer golf are two different things to say.
Yes. Yeah, I really enjoyed the round. But that brings up another topic. How do you guys dress for cold weather?
Layers.
Because for me, the big thing is, obviously the big thing is layers. I don't like having big bundles around me, so I actually don't like my winter coat. Today I had a thermal long sleeve, a long sleeve, a t-shirt. I had a hoodie that I ended up shedding, as I said, after warm-ups, and then I had a vest on. And that, served me pretty well. On my bottom, I had, some long johns and some of those dry fit Under Armour underwear, and I didn't wear jeans. I wore more of like a khaki material almost, because once jeans get wet, they're
miserable
to dry.
They're miserable. Like,
wet jeans is miserable.
The answer for the Wisconsin weather lately is don't go the fuck outside. I mean, we've been these last couple of weeks. We've been. I think the high driving home from work the other day, like in my car, said a -3 air temperature, not including the wind chill. So the answer is just don't go outside lately.
I remember those days when I lived up there, where you're like, oh man, the high almost hit 0 today.
Yeah. When you're like today, I think was a 14 degrees out, and I didn't even have a sweatshirt on taking the trash out because like it's a hot day outside at 13 degrees outside. Like
classic Midwestern man right there.
I remember coming home
to the trash can and back. I'll be fine.
Yeah.
I remember coming home when we had a stretch. When I was in Wisconsin, we had a stretch where it was like 2 or 3 weeks where the high did not hit 0. And the wind chill got down to like 45, 50 below. Like it got cold. And I came home for Christmas and it was 30 degrees outside and I'm helping load up, someone's car after Christmas. And I'm just in a Blackhawks jersey with the t-shirt underneath. And my mom's like, put a jacket on. It's cold. I was going, Mom, it is 70 degrees warmer than what I'm used to. Literally, I went from minus 40 to positive 30. It is insanely warm out right now.
Yeah, it's crazy to think like that. But I think when I play winter golf, there's a couple things that I keep in mind. One, waterproof shoes of some sort.
Waterproof socks.
Waterproof shoes, waterproof socks, whatever it is. If your foot stays dry, you're in better shape.
Oh yeah,
without doubt. I don't care what the traction is on the bottom. Let's be fair. When you're on ice and snow, the traction doesn't matter. You're going to be slipping and sliding no matter what the traction is. Make sure your toes stay dry.
Yep.
For me, the answer is layers, but honestly, the best investment I made a couple years ago is the battery operated heat.
Yes. It's
expensive.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to dump $100 to $150 for a basic vest or a basic shirt.
Oh, you're talking about that.
But a battery operated vest, I am golfing in 20-degree weather and sweating in a vest and a long sleeve shirt. And I feel like I have my full range of motion. I also go with fleece lined pants.
Yep.
I got a couple pair of they almost look like khaki material, but they're probably closer to like sweatpant material, if that makes sense, like the wind pants kind of thing.
Yeah.
They got a little bit of swish. It was a $10 Costco purchase that I purchased three of them when I had to cover hockey games because the hockey arena was always cold. So I'm like, all right, what's warm that looks professional? And so they were khaki. They were khaki-like material, but they have a nice, thick fleece line.
Yes.
It was a very solid purchase. Yeah. So, when I go outside, like I said, waterproof boots, some sort of, fleece-lined pant to make sure my legs stay warm. And then I go with a battery vest or a battery undershirt to help keep my core warm. And then what I usually do is I wear a very thick pair of, snowboarding gloves. And then just, the second I'm not touching a disc, I'm in the gloves again.
Yep.
Yeah, so that was another big key for me today. I am very lucky and I have a lot of experience in the cold. I'm an Eagle Scout and I work in a profession.
That's what's wrong with you.
Probably, what would you guys say, a quarter to a third at least of our time is spent outside between October and November, and then March, April, and May.
Yeah. And we're all Midwest guys. I mean, it's cold.
We're all Midwest where it gets cold, it gets wet. So the way that I do it is I do a pack of the double hand warmers in my front pockets, and then I usually somewhere have a jumbo hand warmer. I started with it in my bag or in my putter pocket so that my putter was staying nice and warm, and I had a good feel on it. And then, like I said, once I slid through the snow, I actually put that in my throwing or in my right pocket because I'm right-handed to try and warm my hand up pretty quickly. And within about within 2 holes, I was back to being able to be like, okay, I can grip a disc normally. I have a feel for it. I couldn't throw it worth a crap because I can never throw it worth a crap. But
you were back to throwing the same crap.
Right, exactly. I hit a birdie 3 holes later on an elevated basket because I hit a nice putt.
I hate that hole.
I hate that hole so much. Because the bottom of the basket, the bottom of the cage is about 6 feet.
6 foot.
Because I can walk under it and I'm not 6 foot.
I had to get my disc.
Oh, I have to.
It was a nasty putt. I had probably a 20 or so footer.
So really no reason you should have been running it, but why the hell not?
Yep.
It was kind of one of those okay, it's close enough that I can run it, and if I miss, I'm still gonna have a very make-hole putt, as long as I don't end up right underneath the basket and I have to reach behind me and dunk it in. it was probably a dumb decision to run it, but I ran it anyway and I made it. So
it was a good decision.
Yeah, exactly. But then, yeah, like you said, the waterproof shoes, I actually took the pair of boots that I use that I got when I was in Scouts for hiking, for, you know, really cold weather, for that crap. My feet still ended up cold after probably about 3-4 hours outside.
That's going to happen, though.
But that's 3-4 hours outside.
3-4 hours outside in snow that is probably 6 inches deep. You know, yes, my feet ended up a little bit wet, but I mean, for the most part, the only problem I had with my footwear was the fact that I noticed that my shoe was untied as I went up for a putt, and I was thinking too much about tying my shoe and missed the putt.
Yep.
And that was my only other bogey was after my hands had thawed out was I missed the par putt because my shoe was untied.
Yeah.
At least that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
And for me, I usually I'm normally a pretty warm person. So even for these colder rounds like today, if I went out, I would have had my hiking boots with my waterproof socks, both waterproof, and they're just thicker socks. They work really well. I was actually surprised. I wore them with just regular tennis shoes once, and it was kind of it was a weird feeling. It was like putting your hand in a bag and then dunking that bag in the water. Like you could feel the water coming up and feel cold, but they weren't wet. I think that's the best way to describe it. Yeah. Like if you've ever mixed up a Gatorade cooler with an ice bag.
With an ice bag?
That's kind of how it felt. Like, but my feet were warm. Like they did get a little cold, but like they were dry, so they warmed up pretty quick. So I wear that, and I'll usually put on sweatpants. Depending on how the wind's blowing, I might throw on, like I have the Under Armour Cold Gear 3.0, the stuff that you can like sit in cold weather and stay warm. So if you're moving around a lot, you're really toasty. For my upper body, I don't like having a lot of layers on, so I'll wear I have the regular Under Armour and then a 3.0 shirt. So depending on how cold it is or how much I'm going to walk around, that's kind of what I'll wear. And then I'll throw on a sweatshirt of varying thickness. And I'll have a shirt for underneath, like a long sleeve shirt or a t-shirt, in case the sweatshirt, it gets too warm. And then I got for Christmas an electric hand warmer, a Zippo electric hand warmer, worth every penny.
My sister swears by that. She's got one and loves it.
It is. They say it lasts 9 hours. Since I got it for Christmas, I haven't played a tournament. Well, I take it back. I did the bag tag challenge, and that was about 3 hours. Yeah. And it actually got to the point where I'm like, I had it on low, and it was too warm. Granted, the day ended up being like, this was December 31st, and it was like 40 degrees outside. By the time like the sun, like by the time the afternoon, like in the morning warming up, it was great. After that, it just was too hot outside.
Yeah. I mean, depending on how you guys go, I would definitely suggest the battery operated shirt vest.
Yeah. I got a pair of socks for Christmas.
I've seen the battery operated gloves too. That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
But I'm not a vest guy. But recently I've been a vest guy because it really does help keep the core. When I've learned with the battery operated stuff, they don't necessarily heat the arms. It's more core based. Mm-hmm. So why not get a vest? That's what's going to be warmed anyways, you know?
Yeah.
And then for the sake of disc golf, I kind of went out and threw in it, and it's like, oh, I can just wear a long sleeve t-shirt. Yeah, my arms are going to be a little bit cold, but if my core is warm and my hands are warm, my arms don't feel that cold, and I'd rather have that range of motion.
Yep. That's where I'm at with that. Yeah. That's why I don't like a lot of layers.
The other big thing I would say is definitely keep a couple extra towels on you. And not necessarily where you normally keep your towels. I always have, the golf towel clipped on the side of my bag. But then you set your bag down in the snow, the bottom of the towel starts to get wet. After a couple holes, it gets wet.
That's why you get a cart.
Couple extra towels, even if they're just tossed in your pockets or tossed in tossed in one of the pockets in your bag, and then you switch them out.
Yep.
That's a big thing, because keeping the disc dry for two reasons. One, like you said, your hand gets cold when it gets wet. So, I mean, keeping it dry that way. And then 2, then the consistency on the disc. I mean, it's landing in snow. It's landing in water. It's going to get wet.
Yeah.
Every single throw, it's going to act like your disc is going to act like it's playing in the rain.
Yep.
So having a couple extra towels really makes a big difference on that.
Yeah, that was a big thing today. I had my normal disc in my putter pocket that I used only for my putter and my hands. And then I kept a separate disc, or not a separate disc, a separate towel in my big main disc compartment. Just for, okay, my EMAC Truth has a bunch of snow around the rim. Okay, knock it on my leg, knock it on a tree, whatever. Now I'm going to towel it off and make it, relatively dry. And I had a third towel just as this one's getting too wet. Now I'm going to trade it out.
Yep.
Yeah. I think
so it sounds like our general consensus is if you can find a good vest that you really like, whether it's a heated vest, whether it's a regular vest, that vest gives you a lot of range of motion. Get some type of warmer, whether that's the
chemical ones or the battery ones.
A battery one's one of those chemical ones,
like
something like that.
Well,
the battery one is going to.
Rounds you're playing. If you're playing a 1-round thing, you don't need as much. If you're playing a 2-round thing, do you have extra chargers for things like that? Do you have extra batteries for things like that? It's a big thing to keep in mind too.
Yeah. Yeah, and then of course, as always, when you're in the cold, layers.
Don't forget a hat.
Yeah, don't forget a hat. I had an Under Armour hat that kept my head. I was actually sweating at points in it, but at the same time, if I would have taken it off, my hair would have looked like it was a mess. But B, and more importantly, it always looks like it's a mess. It's fine. But B, and more importantly, I would have gotten cold real quick.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the cold weather. Do you guys have anything specific that you guys like for wet weather, for rain? I know that I've mentioned I don't, I generally only play casual rounds, a couple of tournament rounds here or there. Obviously, I'm apparently the first person playing a tournament on this podcast this year, but but as far as rain, is there anything specific that you guys like to wear for that?
Well,
or is it? Does it depend on temperature? Does it depend on the wind?
Yes, all the above. I like to. I have a waterproof coat that is just a shell. That's really nice for throwing in the rain. It gives me most of the flexibility I need. I mean, any coat that you have, but it's one of those like I'll sacrifice a little range of motion and adjust my swing if it means I stay dry and I can still do everything. And I also bring an obscene amount of towels. Like Walmart brand bath towels are probably the best thing ever because you can buy them for a couple bucks and I don't care if they get dirty and nasty or if I lose
if they're
one.
full of mud, throw them out after the round. Who cares?
Yeah. Or if you don't want to go with the big ones like the hand towels, I don't know. It's not a kitchen towel. Rags? Yeah. Something between like a hand towel and the bath towel. Like they make some that are kind of that weird size. Maybe it's just the hand towel size.
The gym towels, the kind that they always hand you at the gym that are never big enough to actually dry off with. Yes. Too big for a wash rig. Yeah.
Yes, one of those.
It's like it's enough to cover yourself, but it's not actually enough to wrap around yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. The big thing with me with rain, extra pairs of socks, if not an extra pair of shoes. Especially because they always need to be multiple round tournaments.
Yep.
Where the first half of the tournament you're completely soaked, and then the second half the sun pops out, but you're a drenched frickin' mess.
Yep, you're dry.
I had no problem having like 6 pairs of socks in my car. I was even a tournament where it was really bad, where I actually threw an extra pair of socks in my bag, and like on hole 4, I changed my socks.
Yep.
For the one time I stepped in a giant puddle, I'm like, screw this, I'm changing my socks.
I changed my shoes in the middle of a round once.
Yeah,
I actually put them in my.
I've done shoes in a round.
I did that. I changed my shoes and socks in the middle of a round one tournament, and it wasn't because of the rain. It was because of the dew, and it was such a humid day that the dew on the grass actually hung around until like 11 o'clock. Like it wasn't
so that morning round was just soaked.
It wasn't. Yeah, it was basically like we were playing in the rain, but also sweating our asses off because it was so humid. Like it was probably the worst of everything because at least in the rain, you're wet, but the sun isn't out. And now it's like, okay, my disc is wet, my feet are soaked, I can't get a grip, I'm sweating my ass off. Like, I can't win.
You had 2 bad holes, and now you're just pissed off at the world.
Yeah, and it's hot and it's humid, and it was just one of those, like...
Oh, man.
Yeah. The other thing I would say is some sort of grip bag, some sort of clay bag.
Yes.
It's amazing what those things can... You don't need a rosin bag. You don't need the extra tack.
No.
Just something that gets your hands dry.
I've actually fallen in love with Climber's Chalk. It is...
I've heard that before.
It is amazing.
That is one of the ways to go.
Yeah.
Like that and a grip sack are one of the ways to go.
And I have both in my bag.
Which actually, so as I mentioned, I went out shopping to one of our local pro shops this past week. And I got a couple of discs. But the thing that I actually went for was a grip sack. Because I'm probably playing in this tournament. So I want something where I know that if I use it, I'm going to be able to get a good grip on my putter.
Yep.
Because that was my biggest concern, was getting a good grip on my disc. So I went out and bought a grip sack specifically for this tournament. I'll obviously continue to use it and whatnot, but
and everybody's brand is a little bit different. Their mix is a little bit different. So if you don't like whale sack,
for example, is what I have.
Yeah, if you don't like whale sack,
DD.
Yeah,
Prodigy.
The whale sacks was a big one a couple years ago with Tina and Eric Oakley,
and it still is. I don't have one.
What's the other one? The birdie
there's a
bag?
sports
is that
sack.
The other big one.
Yeah. There's also a sports sack, which I like. It's a couple different companies use it. It's all the same. It's just rebranded.
Yeah.
And whatever mix that is, I like it. So I have one of those, and I have a DD Grandma's Dirt Bag, or whatever it's called, and then I have it's a Prodigy case essentially, but it's Climber's Chalk.
Yeah,
and it was like $10.
Keep in mind, some of them are to keep your hands dry, others are to add grip.
Yes.
So it depends on what you look for. So like for the rain rounds, I'm not necessarily looking to add grip because with how wet my hands are, it's just not going to be the right texture. I just want to dry my hands off. I don't want to have it constantly soaked, feel like I've been swimming for 3 hours.
And that's what the sports sack really feels like for me.
And that's what I have. I have the sports sack,
it
which
dries
I want to
your hand.
say is more. Is that one more clay or more?
I don't know.
Beads. I have one that's more clay and one that's not as much clay, and I forget which one adds a little bit of tack.
So I will say, the grip sack that I got, I really liked because I had a couple of longer putts, and when I grabbed those out, I'm like, okay, I want to make sure that my hand's not going to slip. I want to make sure that I have a good feel for it. And like I said, I just dried it off more than anything. It made my hand feel dry.
Yep.
It didn't necessarily add that chalky feel. It didn't add that rosiny feel.
It's one less thing to think about during a putt.
Right. Exactly. It's almost like a comfort blanket in that it's okay. I'm using this. I don't know how much it's actually doing,
but if it
from
works,
a placebo effect, I feel better. It's one less thing to think about. It helps that mental game.
If it works between the ears, it works.
So much. Yeah, exactly. We're all 3 medical professionals. We know a big chunk of patient care is getting the patients to buy into something will work.
Yep. And that, I was actually...
Like you said, Joe, if it works between the ears, it works.
I was actually surprised at... I thought the chalk bag, and the reason I kind of stayed away from a chalk bag for so long was I was like, the disc is going to slip out of my hand. I'm not going to like the way it feels, just kind of that stuff. I will say, if I don't use it, I feel weird without it. Now, I'll use it pretty much all the time because I also have sweaty hands all the time.
You're a sweaty man.
I am a sweaty boy. And but
the 2 listeners that we have left just left the podcast.
Pretty much. So what I always found funny before I started using that, everybody was complaining on humid days or rainy days, I can't get a good grip. My hand's all wet. I'm like, my superpower, sweaty hands. In the rain, it feels the same for me, but it does actually. I didn't really ever notice it all that much, other than getting a bit better grip, and then. Every now and then I'd have chalky fingerprints on a disc. Like all of a sudden I looked at my bounty and I've got like a perfect thumbprint right in the middle where it goes.
I know how I'm stealing Joe's fingerprints to commit my next crime.
Feel free to take all of my student loan debt with you. That's probably a good note to end on.
I think that kind of addresses how to, how to dress differently, how we would suggest attacking different conditions when it's not the, the ideal 75 and sunny and no wind.
And when in doubt, layer up. You can always take layers off.
Yeah, and I know we kind of talked about it. I think a tournament prep, just in general would be kind of a good topic to talk about in the future once we get more into the normal person tournament season that doesn't get to travel to Vegas and travel to Texas.
Or if you live in Texas I
think we're running a little bit long for that today.
But I agree. I think this is a good transition to think about in the future for sure.
Yeah, I think that'll be something that maybe we address closer to maybe a trilogy challenge when both Joe and I play in that.
It depends when that is. That could be pretty late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have to get to it. Maybe get you guys up here for a little while too.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think that's a good spot for this podcast. I think we've got some stuff to talk about in the future, but we did our Skip Ace draft. Who's feeling pretty good about their team right now?
Feeling pretty solid.
I gotta say, I'm pretty optimistic right now.
I don't remember who I drafted, so
I drafted Ricky.
I feel very confident for the first 5 tournaments. After that, I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's going to come down to who shows up. Sometimes literally who's actually showing up.
I got to play in the free agency just so I have someone at the tournament here.
Yeah. Yes.
So.
And then obviously, the big news with Catrina, I think we feel pretty positive about that move for her. Wish it would have been announced a little bit earlier, I think, for our rankings show. But at least for me, it sounds like she's happy, and a happy disc golfer is always going to be a tough disc golfer to beat. And then we talked a little bit about how our how we dress for different styles of round. So. Like I said on Twitter, it was a nice jam-packed show. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at halfinthebagdg. Make sure that you also follow Joe at Joe's Disc Golf. You can look us up on the interwebs. halfinthebagdg.com and at joesdiscgolf.com. Joe, what was your Instagram again?
Joe's Disc Golf. Makes it easy.
Joe's Disc Golf. Yeah, real easy.
I keep things simple. Simple mind, simple pleasures.
Simple so that you don't have to remember how to do stuff. I feel like I'm missing something. Oh, make sure that you submit your listener questions to us. Make sure that if Joe, do you want to go into how that works as far as the live listener questions?
Live?
Well,
you could submit them on Twitter, Instagram, DM.
Yes.
Just tweet at us. Or it can be through anchor.fm/halfinthebagdg, I believe is the name for it. There should be a listener link down below in the podcast format. You will have to make an account, but I think Spotify owns Anchor, so I think you can just use your Spotify account. If not, it's just, get one of those 10-minute. It's a free email or a free account. Just use one of those 10-minute emails and call it a day. You can submit your question through voice, or you could go to anchor.fm/Joe's Disc Golf. Do the same thing. We can play them here. Either way, I get the audio, you get the question, you get your voice, you get that face for radio out there, and everybody's happy. But I'd say that's probably a good place to end it here.
Thanks for listening, everyone, and have a good week.
Yeah, see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.